Right.
And we're live.
Okay, back at House Education, Wednesday, April 23, 2025, and back to discussing H54 and act relating to cell phone free schools. I wanted to just bring in some expertise to sort of talk about one of the bigger concerns people seem to have with banning cell phones, which is what about if there's an emergency? So we have somebody from the school safety program with us. And I think without further ado, Sonny, we'll just turn it over to you and look forward to your testimony. If you just introduce yourself. And then I would also just remind the committee, there's a document I put around from the School Resource Officer Association on this as well. Welcome, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Sunny Erickson, School Safety Program Manager for Vermont Emergency Management and the Vermont School Safety Center. I'm also the co-chair of the Vermont School Crisis Planning Team. I appreciate you all having me here to talk about this matter. I believe we're just focusing on cell phone use during times of crisis. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. I did provide a document containing the testimony. I'm not sure if you all were able to, peruse that earlier, or
No,
I
I
can
think
go ahead.
seeing it for the first time right now.
Okay, I mean, I'm happy to read through it, or if you just wanted a more generalized discussion, I'm happy to answer any questions and talk about. Oh, go ahead.
Let's do a more generalized discussion.
Okay, perfect. So I think I should open by saying I think everyone in the school safety arena and the School Safety Center is a collaboration between the Department of Public Safety and AOE. So we work very closely between the two agencies in all policy development, best practices, and guidance that's issued out to the field regarding school safety. I think everyone is in agreement that having a policy in place that establishes guidelines for use of cell phones during school hours or events is a good idea. I think what we would hope is that it's not too prescriptive and that it would allow schools to consider their culture, their community, and their school needs as they're developing those parameters for their policy. I know that there are, I believe, 8 schools that have enacted a policy, nationwide that regulate or aim to structure the use of cell phones. Typically, those are during school hours or during school-sponsored events. Some of them are, describe being on school grounds. Some of them have, during certain hours, but most of them have some limitations that are included in the ability to use the cell phones during school. So I'm happy to answer any questions. There are, I could address the pros and cons as we sort of weigh them and as we've seen them pop up throughout our experience in school safety. I guess I'll take the lead from what you all would like to know.
I think that one of the concerns that people have had, and then there's the counter to it, is if there's an emergency at my kid's school, I want to be able to reach my student right then and there. Right. The counter being from some of the safety experts is that a kid on a phone that all of a sudden loses their sort of situational awareness to follow direction. And just they're distracted from what is unfolding in front of them if it's an emergency. Could you speak a bit to that? Yeah.
Sure, that is absolutely a concern with having students have use of their cell phones. That's the most immediate I guess concern is that in the time of a crisis, you need an emergency response. And if you are looking at your cell phone, you might not be listening to instruction from teachers or administrators. You might not be getting the information that will allow you to best respond to whatever the threat or hazard is. That can also lead to a lot of students jumping on their telephones jams up telecom networks that can impede emergency responders. That can also lead to parents, what we call sort of parental flocking of when a parent hears a student is in distress, they want to go and help them. That can cause, traffic jams that then first responders have to, battle against. And it can also put the parents in danger by drawing them to a potentially dangerous area or zone. So those are the big concerns that we see when we talk about use of cell phones in the case of emergencies.
How about on the other side? Is there strong arguments for kids having access to their cell phones during a safety crisis?
So there are some positive outcomes, that immediate communication and ability to connect, even if it's a text or a call to their parent to let them know they are safe, to let them know that the situation's being addressed, that can provide great peace of mind and can, on the other side, perhaps delay the parent trying to get right to the school if they know that their child is there. That limits the traffic congestion and some of those other problems, such as parents entering dangerous zones. It can also be used to, sort of disperse any rumors that parents might see online or by word of mouth. These things happen so quickly, and the rumor mill can really churn at the speed of light. So they might be able to sort of put their parents' mind at ease and give them sort of a real-time viewing of that. They can also utilize that cell phone to call for assistance if they feel it's not on the way already. If they feel like an emergency responder hasn't been notified, they might be able to provide additional information as events unfold.
On balance, do you have which way does the school safety program lean in this issue?
I think that our recommendation is that each district or supervisory union has some sort of policy in place. Each union and district is different and has different considerations for what their student body might face for threats and hazards, and they know the needs of their community and their students and the culture in which they're operating their schools. So I would say the Safety Center recommends policies be developed, and there are many, many resources out there. There are, like I said, the 8 states that have already enacted legislation for managing these cell phone uses in events. I think what our recommendation is to have the policies be in place, but allowing the districts and unions to develop those based on their individual needs.
Other questions? All right. I'm not seeing any other questions. Thanks for making the time for us today and preparing the document that you provided.
Sure. Just one side note. In that document, there are links to what is currently available to educators on the AOE website, and that's developed in collaboration with the School Safety Center, so DPS and AOE. And there's also a federal guidance document in there that you might want to refer to as you're, working through this bill. And if you had any other questions or wanted additional resources, I'd be happy to provide those.
We do have one question, Representative Long.
Thank you for coming in and sharing your thoughts. I just was curious based on your last statement, could you give me an example of differences between school districts that would warrant a different policy? I was trying to think of something in my mind and I couldn't think of anything.
Right. Well, when I think of the school systems throughout Vermont, and that includes public, private, and independent schools, therapeutic schools, some of those are very small in their student bodies. Some of them are very rural. Some of them are much, larger and more metropolitan. I think that based on, and also they experience things differently in different areas of the state. There are places that have a higher level of, not only security, but of events that happen that would be of a threatening nature. Some of those are concentrated regionally. So those responses might be more stringent. They might choose to designate an area where where the cell phones are placed at the beginning of the day and get them back later. Some of them might confine use during certain, sections of the day, but might utilize the phones for instructional activities or something along that line, or devices. I'm including devices in that as well. I do think that there's a lot of different school cultures and different needs of different communities. So I think allowing those districts and supervisory unions to develop those policies, they have the best understanding of their, the demographic that they are serving. And I think that leaving a little bit of leeway for them to address what steps might best meet the needs of their schools. That's why we would offer the flexibility.
Okay, but I guess I was asking in the context of an emergency, a moment of emergency, regardless of where you were located in any state. That's what I was trying to see. An emergency feels like an emergency no matter what part of the state you're in or what the context of it is.
Right. That's why I think that if I'm understanding what you're saying, I think having a baseline policy that would cover every school would be a good idea, with the flexibility to allow different schools to sort of put in different exemptions or different practices based on their needs.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right, committee, we'll wrap